Joe Schoen, GM, general manager, Joe Schoen pulled it off. He achieved what I would say the vast majority of Giants fans were hoping for. I know myself personally, I was hoping for this outcome. And that was, let's sign our boy, DJ, Danny Dimes, a.k.a. now Danny Dollars. He got a serious upgrade in the finance department. His economics through the roof. We got him signed to a fairly reasonable deal, unless you're a hater, of which there are many. And that allowed us, and why was that important? Because it allowed us to place the tag on Saquon and keep him around for another year because, hey, we love him. And I'd like to see him close out his career with the Giants. Who knows if that happens? But what a pivotal offseason. What a pivotal year. Now, can you imagine? We don't get this deal done with Daniel. We have to place the tag on him because that was the thought process going into this. We don't sign him. We got to put a tag on him. And if we put the exclusive tag on him, that's like, according to what I saw from Lamar Jackson's negotiations, that would have put us at $45 million, which is like, hey. And then we could put the non-exclusive tag on him, which would place him around, I think, at $32 million, which is what's happening to Lamar Jackson. We'll get to that in a little bit. But can you imagine? We don't get a deal done. We got to put the tag on him. And then we had to let Saquon enter free agency. And I don't have the graphic in front of me. I probably should have pulled it up. But that's our duo right there. That's how we win games. It's Danny and Saquon, Barkley and Jones, 8 and 26. That's how we win games. One without the other, we don't win games. Odds are we don't win games without those two. That two-headed monster. So I'm really glad that we were able to lock them up, at least for 2023, the both of them. And who knows how things go. I mean, you want to talk about in the span of a year how things can change. We had declined Daniel Jones' fifth-year option before the 2022 season because we just didn't see it. We had a new GM, new head coach. They both came in. They said, I don't know that we've seen enough, from an outsider's perspective, for us to say, yeah, let's do a fifth-year option, which would have been this upcoming 2023 campaign. And then what a difference a year makes. Daniel stays healthy, plays all 16 games or 15 games. He sat the last game because we didn't want him to get hurt for the playoffs. Took us to the playoffs, won a playoff game. And now he's got a 4-year deal worth $160 million, which is a average annual salary of $40 million a year, which I think when we initially saw that price tag, we all clutched our pearls and for good reason. Cause we at the quarterback position, we hadn't seen that price tag in 4 years. Last time we had a quarterback with a big contract, Eli Manning, I think he tapped out at like 20 some odd million dollars, $25 million. Inflation is a real son of a bitch, folks. I don't know if you've been paying attention outside of the sports world, just the general economics and economy. We're experiencing inflation. And this is like, I think, the prime example of that, and we'll get to how his new contract ranks in terms of annual average salary, total value, all that stuff in a little bit. But that's just the state, you want to talk about the state of the union. This is the state of the quarterback union right now. This guy, if you look at the other quarterbacks making what he's making, he's kind of right there with them if you just take 2022. And as much as people don't want to take into consideration the previous years of his tenure so far, the Giants win more with him than the quarterback. And you could say, well, we've had shitty backup quarterbacks, and you wouldn't be wrong. But he's coming off his best season, completed 67% of his passes, over 3,000 yards passing, which I guess nowadays you're like, okay. 15 touchdowns, 5 picks in 16 games. Rushed for over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns on 120 rushes. And he cut down his fumbles. He's cut down his fumbles. He cut down his interceptions. He's done what we've wanted him to do and what we've asked of him to do. And I'm all for this. I had a friend who's an Eagles fan say, what a great day for NFC East fans who aren't Giants fans. It's like, okay. You probably said the same thing when Dak Prescott signed his contract, because at that time, like 40 plus million for Dak Prescott, who hadn't won one playoff game. I don't even know if he had won the one playoff game at that time, but we're like, this guy. And then, you look at what you're getting now. He led the league in the interceptions while playing 10 games, 12 games. So, no one has a crystal ball. We get that. No one can predict the future, but this is a good gamble. And I like this risk. There's no reward without risk, right? High risk, high reward. This doesn't feel that high risk. We're not giving him a Patrick Mahomes contract where it's 10 years, friggin' almost $500 million. And a lot of people were comparing what Daniel Jones was asking for, the AAV, to Patrick Mahomes' AAV. And it's like, but Patrick Mahomes is getting 10 years worth of security and a tremendous amount of guarantees. So if you're just going by AAV, yeah, I guess he's asking for the same AAV, but it wasn't across the same length of the deal. There's a bunch of ways to look at it and a bunch of ways you can chop it up. So, I was not getting him. I had no, and I know this is probably why I'm such a shitty content creator, because I don't get in the mix, and I don't know how to shit talk or trash talk or anything like that. But to me, it's like a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing type of thing, where it's like, we can talk until we're blue in the face, and pretty much everyone did. Every time I logged on to Twitter, it was like people arguing over Daniel Jones and the contract is worth his value. And it's just like, dude, one of three options. We sign him, we tag him, we let him walk. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. I was in the camp of, let's sign him. Do I want to sign him to $45 million a year? No. $47, $48 million a year? No. But the Giants were valuing him at what the current value is for a Ryan Tannehill and a Kirk Cousins. And I'm saying to myself, well, he just beat Kirk Cousins in the playoffs, and he's younger. He's younger than Tannehill, so it doesn't seem as far-fetched as people are making it out to be. And then Derek Carr signed with the Saints, and we can get into that contract in a little bit. And I was like, huh. And then Geno Smith signed his contract with the Seahawks, and I was like, huh. I was like, it doesn't seem that far-fetched that Daniel Jones, because I think when we were first talking about the market value for Daniel Jones, Spot Track had him at like 32 or 35 million for AAV, average annual value. And I was just like, all right. I mean, it's a high number. And when we compare it to what Eli Manning was making, who won 2 Super Bowls for us, yeah, that's more. But it's also the year 2023. And when Eli retired, it was 2019. It was 4 or 5 years ago. And shit's changed in 4 or 5 years. So for the AAV to work out to be 40 million, I'm completely fine with that. It puts him in the same range as a Dak Prescott, and I honestly think that he can be better than Dak Prescott, to be frank. And I know I'm biased, so of course I'm going to say that, but I just see him making more plays and having a better decision making, especially this year. I mean, I just think he's not turnover prone and making smart decisions and making some really unbelievable throws. I think at first blush, you're like, oh, wow, that's a nice throw by Daniel. And then you play it back and you see the all 22 and then you see the coverage and you see the space he's dealing with. And you're like, wow, that's actually a friggin' elite throw. So he's 25. It's a 4-year deal. It's not a 10-year deal. And it seems like most of the guarantees are coming in the first 2 years. He's got $35 million in additional incentives, which I'm all for incentives. I love incentives. $82 million are guaranteed over the first 2 years, I guess. And this is where I get a little, I don't believe the reports, because it's like 82 million over the first 2 years. But the first year cap number is 19 million, which means that 63 million is going to count to the cap in 2024, which is not great when we're thinking about possibly trying to re-sign Saquon Barkley. or extend Saquon Barkley. So I personally, I think it's a good deal. I think it is, because you're not only looking at where he is currently in terms of, he's now in terms of as contracts go in that top 10. And while a lot of people probably, I can say this for a fact, nobody sees him as outside of Giants fans. Nobody sees him. Experts, PFF, a lot of people don't see him as a top 10 quarterback currently. That's not, 2022 went a long way in saying, okay, if he can do this every year for the next 4 years, we're going to be in a really great spot, because it's not, he won us a lot of games, fourth quarter comebacks, game winning drives, with his feet, his arms, his brain. Imagine how many more games we could win if we just had the complementary pieces, the supporting cast, which we didn't have in 2022. Somewhat better line, I guess, in 2022, right? But, talk about the wide receiving core, losing Tony, not having Galladay, Shepard's gone, Wandale's gone. You're talking about the top 4 or 5 receivers just out. And he still was able to put up the numbers he did, lead him to the playoffs, win a playoff game. Now you get him players around him, and who knows? Maybe he does become officially, across the board, according to everyone, a top 10 quarterback. That's the hope, and that's the plan, and that's the vision. And dude, we're talking about rebuilding, right? The rebuild. This is the rebuild. The rebuild isn't okay. We finally made the playoffs, and we finally won a playoff game. Okay, let's just get rid of our core parts. That's not the rebuild. We're talking about the rebuild. It was supposed to be a rebuild year. We make the playoffs, and year 1 of a rebuild, it's pretty damn good. And I know other teams have gone worst to first and whatnot, but I don't know that those were necessarily rebuilds. So, 25-year-old quarterback, 26-year-old running back, both arguably, I will say that, Saquon's not arguably, he was a top 5 running back last year. And Daniel, if you go into advanced analytics, you could make the case that he was at the very least a top 15 quarterback. And we'll get into this when we look at the contracts. You look at the top 15 contracts, quarterback contracts, they're all, you'd be shocked if you're not familiar. So I thought we would take a look at Derek Carr's signing with the Saints, because I think that was the first chip to fall, if I'm correct, if I'm right. So he signed with the Saints. He was released by the Raiders on Valentine's Day. Heartbreaking. He's 31 years old. So he's got 6 years on Daniel Jones. And in 9 seasons with the Raiders, 35,000 plus passing yards, 200 plus touchdowns, almost 100 picks, 63 and 79 and 142 starts. And this motherfucker right here got a 4-year, $150 million contract that includes $100 million in guarantees. $70 million effectively fully guaranteed, with $60 million due at signing, another $10 million in year 3 vesting after year 1. And the Saints kind of, this is where I think the salary cap is a hoax. It's just like, it's a myth. The Saints have like their third least amount of cap space. They're almost $30 million over the cap. So, and the Saints are just magicians when it comes to the salary cap. I don't know how they do it year in and year out, but they got Derek Carr, and now you got to think NFC South with Tom Brady retiring. And if he does unretire, he's not going to come back to the Bucs. I don't think. It looks like he might go to the Dolphins, or there's a rumor he'd go to the Dolphins. But the Panthers, maybe, they have a pretty good defense. They kind of turn it around after the McCaffrey trade. So the NFC South is kind of wide open. And with Derek Carr now, you feel like the Saints might have a shot. Then we look at Geno Smith, comeback player of the year. Kind of bullshit. Saquon should have won. Pro Bowler, league high, 70% completion rate, 4,200 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 picks. But he's also 30 some odd years old, I think. Geno Smith age 32. 3-year contract worth $105 million. So he's in that $30+ million AAV. Base value of 25 per season, 40 million guaranteed at signing. 28 million he'll earn in the first year, and $30 million worth of incentives. So Before this year, no one would say, yeah, sign me up for that deal. No Seahawks fan would be like, yes, to that Geno Smith contract. No one. But he flipped the script in 2022. Derek Carr has a decent track record, Pro Bowls, whatnot. I don't know that he's really done anything in the playoffs or has really done anything in the playoffs, but he's getting a big contract. So Jones has a bigger contract, but he's 6 to 7 years younger. We might look back 4 years from now and be like, that was a fucking steal. Jones we might get to the point where Jones is asking for to renegotiate his contract after year 2. Which, you look at Patrick Mahomes and his AAV and you're thinking, who knows what he's thinking? He's seeing Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones getting $40-45 million a year, equivalent to what he's getting. And he's like, I know this half a bill's cool, but what's cooler than half a bill? A full bill. And then we'll look at Lamar Jackson, right? Here's another interesting case where negotiations hit a wall and the Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. It's going to cost Baltimore around a little over $32 million in 2023, and they'll have until July 17th to reach a multi-year extension. What's interesting about the non-exclusive franchise tag is that Lamar is able to negotiate with other teams in free agency. And so if another team does decide to make an offer that beats that price tag, $32 million a year, the Ravens can then have 5 days to match it or bow out. And if they bow out, they get a pretty good haul in return. I think a couple picks, first round picks. I don't know if I got to talk about this in a previous episode, but I really thought that Atlanta would be a great fit because they had a lot of cap space. I don't know that they're that pumped about Mariota. I think they benched him when he was like a healthy scratch, which was kind of odd. And I don't know that Desmond Ridder is the guy, right? Or maybe they think that they could just overpay for Lamar for 3-4 years. And by the time that contract's done, Ridder is ready to assume the throne. I don't know. But, Lamar is playing hardball. And I know Daniel Jones played hardball, it came down to the wire. And it was freaking some people out. But Lamar's playing some serious hardball. Turned down a contract that would exceed Russell Millions, $49 million per year, which, Denver's got to be pulling their hairs out. Or should I say pulling their manes out, thinking about that contract that they're tied up with Russell Wilson, although he was hurt. Who knows? A healthy Russell Wilson, maybe it's different. I don't know. Although he's in some hot water now. Who knows how that affects his play or whatever with the charities and whatnot. And Lamar wanted guaranteed money in line with Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed $230 million pack with the Browns, which I think most people would agree is a little out of control. And we'll get to that in a bit. But he won, Lamar won the MVP in 2019. That year, he led the league in passing touchdowns and set a QB single season rushing record. But last 2 years, not so great. It's had diarrhea and all that great stuff. So who knows where Lamar ends up? I don't know. That's a lock he'll play for Baltimore. So if we look at the total value of quarterback contracts, current quarterback contracts, you have Mahomes at $450 million total value. Josh Allen's at number 2 at $258 million. We have Russell Wilson at $242 million. He signed that at age 33, and it's 5 years long, and he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2029. Denver, how you doing? Kyler Murray, $230 million contract. Outrageous. Deshaun Watson, $230 million. Dak Prescott, $160 million. Matthew Stafford, $160 million. Daniel Jones, $160 million. So, yeah, we've got Daniel Jones at the same level as Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford. Keep in mind, Matthew Stafford signed this contract after winning a Super Bowl, but he's 34. He signed it at age 34, which will take him to age 38. And I don't even know what the fuck is going on with the Rams with Sean McVay taking a leave of absence, Aaron Donald talking about retirement. So they could be saddled with a big contract for a quarterback that's like, what am I doing here? I already won the Super Bowl. So the total value of Daniel Jones' contract exceeds Aaron Rodgers' contract. And I know that might initially shock and awe some people over in Iraq. But Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old, multi-time MVP, NFL MVP, 38 years old, 30-year contract. But you look at some of the contracts below Daniel Jones and you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Matt Ryan's 32. He did not look great last year for the Colts. Derek Carr ended up getting released. We just talked about his contract with the Saints. This is a bet. It's a future, if you will, if you're into gambling. It's a future on Daniel Jones. And the Giants think they have good odds. They really do think that you look at the ages on some of these contracts, right? No one's saying that Daniel Jones is as good as Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. He played better than Russell Wilson last year, played better than Kyler Murray last year. I didn't really follow a hell of a lot of Deshaun Watson last year, but I'm willing to say that he played better than Deshaun Watson. Dak Prescott stunk. Matthew Stafford hurt. Aaron Rodgers missed the playoffs. Matt Ryan benched. Derek Carr released. So, hey, I'm just looking at the numbers and I'm looking at performance from 2022. Now, I know it's a small sample size. It's just one season. A lot, crazier shit has happened. So let's take a look at the average annual value. Aaron Rodgers is number one at a little over $50 million. Okay. And he's now at the point where he's like, has to do ayahuasca on a retreat to decide whether or not he wants to return to the team. Russell Wilson's at number two at $48.5 million. Kyler Murray at number three at 46. Put it this way, Giants fans, because I'm not talking to any other fans because the other fans won't get it. I'm talking to the Giants fans. Would you rather have Kyler Murray or Daniel Jones? Kyler Murray appears to be, from an outsider's perspective, considering what has been reported, a bit of a headache to the point now where the Arizona Cardinals understand that they are kind of stuck with him. And they're now looking for a coach and people that can work with him as opposed to the other way around. Deshaun Watson, $46 million AAV. Patrick Mahomes, 45. Josh Allen, 43. Dak Prescott, 40. Matthew Stafford, 40. Daniel Jones, 40. So that's the hope, right? The hope is that Daniel Jones takes that next step and can become a Josh Allen. I didn't watch a ton of Buffalo Bills games this year, but I will tell you, I'm glad that Daniel Jones doesn't do what Josh Allen does a hell of a lot of the time, which is turn over the ball in huge, crucial scoring opportunities in the red zone, in opponent's territory, positive drives, momentum, shift, fumble, interception. It happened a lot this year. And I guess you could use the excuse that Josh Allen was hurt and probably should not have been playing. A lot of guys wouldn't have played with his injuries. Okay, fine. I'll buy that. But that's the hope, that Daniel Jones can take that next step and become Josh Allen-esque, right below Josh Allen, which would be phenomenal. If he could be Matthew Stafford, I'm telling you, I think he's, I know I'm biased, I think he's better than Dak Prescott. There are reports that Jalen Hurts is going to try and ask for and command $50 million a year. And Eagles fans, I don't know that they've fully grasped that yet. And I think coming off, if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they would have hand over fist handed him that contract immediately. He lost the Super Bowl. He fumbled. And that was the difference in the game. Sorry, not sorry. Let's be honest here. If he doesn't get hit and fumbled and that's returned for a touchdown, that's a different outcome, right? Who knows if the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl? They have some cap issues right now. I don't know that they're not going to be able to bring everyone back. And so they might not ever get to the Super Bowl again. But you're going to pay Jalen Hurts $50 million a year? Okay, cool. Have fun with that. So I personally am fine with this. If you get, it's a big if, but if you get Daniel Jones from 2022 and he continues to perform at that level and maybe even takes a step each year, and we're not talking about giant leaps each year. We're just talking about steps. Hey, this year, let's throw for a little more yardage. So for a couple more passing touchdowns. let's win 2 playoff games. If you can get that incremental improvement each year, by the time we get to him being an unrestricted free agent in 2027, we're going to be like, should we re-sign our franchise quarterback who took us to the NFC Championship and has been in the playoffs 2 or 3 years in a row? That's a tough one. So, yeah, I'm completely fine with this contract. And it is bizarre that like people were okay with, and I'm the same way. Like 32 is okay, but 40 is not okay. And likewise, I was saying like 40 is okay. In my head, I was like, I guess 40 is okay. And then when they were saying like 47, 48 million a year, I was like, okay, like it's getting a little out of control. And you're starting to hamstring the team's ability to operate and to really compete. And that's what I've never, and I will never understand about professional athletes, especially football players, especially quarterbacks, is, and I think I had this gripe to a certain extent with Eli Manning as well, because I've seen Tom Brady do it where he takes pay cuts and the team's able to actually compete and sign guys that are needed, is to sacrifice just a little bit. Okay, so you're not the highest paid player at your position. Is that going on your tombstone? That's why I never understood. And maybe this has to do more with agencies and agents than it does the players themselves. But my God, if it's hard. I can sit here and say if I were in their shoes, I would never do that. And it's like, I'm never going to be in their shoes. But God damn, you just got to think, I'm a big legacy guy. And so to me, I've always thought it's cool to play for one team and one team only, like Eli Manning, win a Super Bowl for that team, like Eli Manning, and you're forever held at like for the rest of your life. You're just held as this, and that's why, like, not to get off topic, but Jacob deGrom, I was like, that's just a stupid move on your part. Like, what the contract, once you get to that level of wealth, and it's like, holy fuck, man, how much more money do you need? For what? Like, you want to set up your kids, okay. You want to set up your kids, okay. You want to set up your kids, like, okay. 5 million is really going to be the difference. 20 million when you're talking about hundreds of million, like it just, I don't know. It's interesting. But then you have the other side of the flip side of the coin that says, look at how much money these fucking franchises are worth and are making. And what this player is making is a drop in the bucket. And they deserve more because look at how they're putting their life on the line. Look how much they put butts in the seats. They are responsible for all the jersey sales and the merchandise and the blah, blah, blah. Equally understand that. But if we're talking about a difference of 10%, 20%, I don't know. It's tough for me to fight for that when it's like, hey, Daniel, if you sign this contract at this level, this will allow us to re-sign Saquon Barkley and we'll be able to allow us to sign XYZ to help you be better. It's a team sport. Anyway, rant over. So if you look at like total value rankings, this is a metric from Spot Track, but I thought it was interesting. I don't even know what goes into it, but Jalen Hurts has his total value score is 98.65. And that's because his average annual value is $1.5 million, dude. I don't think anyone on this list made less other than Davis Mills. His contract his AAV is slightly higher than Davis Mills. Holy shit. Anyway, number 2 is Joe Burrow, also on his rookie contract. Lamar Jackson, who is still on that weird, it was like a rookie contract, and then I guess they had him franchise tag last year. Now he's got that crazy tag this year. And then you have Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Those guys lived up and played to their contracts. And I think that was that's probably is a big reason why a lot of Giants fans are hesitant about handing out a big contract, because you look at the number of guys that play up to that contract and it's not a lot. It was basically Mahomes and Allen. Geno Smith was playing on a low contract. Tua, rookie contract. Daniel Jones, rookie contract. Justin Fields. Daniel Jones was 8th in terms of total value playing on his rookie contract. Justin Fields was 9. Herbert, 10. I mean, now you got you got all these jackass fans that are like, Daniel Jones making $40 million a year. Justin Herbert's about to make 60. It's like, go to the playoffs and win a game, dude. Justin Fields, go to the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence, went to the playoffs, won a game. He's probably due for an upgrade in the contract department. Andy Dalton at number 12, playing on a very veteran backup quarterback type contract. But, when Jameis got hurt, he had to step in. Tom Brady at 13. You get the next big contract you get to is Kirk Cousins at 17. Kirk Cousins went 14-3, 13-4, something like that. Record number of game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. And yeah, they lost a playoff game, but at the same time, there was 17 in total value and making $35 million a year. You have Marcus Mariota. Next up was Jared Goff. Detroit Lions had a hell of a year. Probably should have made the playoffs if the ball bounces a different way. And he's making $33.5 million a year. Missed the playoffs, though. And then you have Tannehill, which everyone likes to compare Jones to, at $29.5 million a year. Dak Prescott, $40 million a year. Lost in the playoffs. Kyler Murray, $46 million a freaking year. Aaron Rodgers at $50.2 million a year. I would be furious if I was a Cardinals fan, having Kyler Murray at that level and knowing that you're hamstrung with this quarterback who's become a headache or a perceived headache. Who knows, inside the locker room, inside the clubhouse. So yeah, I don't mind the Daniel Jones contract. I like it. I don't think it's crazy over the top. I think it rewards him for what he did in 2022 and says, okay, go out there and do your thing. Keep at it. And if you can get just about a full season's worth of starts out of him, you're probably going to make the playoffs. Probably. And that's because the other domino in this chain fell in our direction the right way. Saquon Barkley, because we got the deal done with Daniel Jones, we're able to place the non-exclusive franchise tag on Saquon Barkley, which means he'll earn a little bit over $10 million in 2023. This is not uncommon. The Raiders placed the same tag on Josh Jacobs, who is right up there with Saquon Barkley in terms of production, at least in 2022. And then Tony Pollard. A lot of people say that Tony Pollard is better than Ezekiel Elliott. And so he gets the same tag. When we look at the running back average rankings, right, in terms of average annual value per year, you have McCaffrey at 1 at 16 mil, Kamara at 2 at 15 mil. Ezekiel Elliott is tied for second at 15 mil. I mean, this is like Dalvin Cook, $12.6 million at number 4. Derrick Henry, $12.5 million at number 5. Nick Chubb at $12.2 million at number 6. Joe Mixon at who knows what happens with Joe Mixon after what the latest going on with him, $12 million. Aaron Jones, $12 million. So the market value for Saquon, I believe, was $12.5 million a year. And he said he scoffed at that. And I think that was the ceiling for the Giants. They were like 12.5. And he came back and he said, no, I want the Alvin Kamara deal. I want a deal that's on par with Ezekiel Elliott. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. Kamara's got some legal issues going on. And Elliott, obviously, I mean, in my opinion, call me crazy, he's not living up to that contract. Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, the reason why McCaffrey and Kamara are getting those kind of dollars, and Cook to a certain extent, is because of their threat, and they're a threat in the passing game. They can run, but they're also a threat in the passing game, which is why Elliott was a little bizarre, because it's like he's not as great in the passing game. And I guess I can say this now, but Derrick Henry on the trading block, Nick Chubb on the trading block. There's the two guys that are playing at the top of their game, that are performing at the top, have numbers that are put them at the top of the league, and are on the trading block. And it's because of their contracts, and it's not because of their production. I mean, the Green Bay contract for Aaron Jones was wild. I think they just restructured it or something like that. So you look at the total contract value, Elliott's number 1 at $90 million. I think, in retrospect, in hindsight, would Cowboys fans sign up for that again? No. Kamara, if he wasn't going through all this crazy shit with the legal issues, maybe $75 million total. McCaffrey at $64 million, and McCaffrey was kind of a game changer for the 49ers after that trade. They went basically undefeated, I think, for the rest of the season, maybe one loss over the course of the final 10 games, something like that. But you can see without a quarterback, the running back is kind of rendered useless. Not useless, but I mean, think about how many teams have been able to go far. I guess you could say the Titans with Tannehill, right? And Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook, $63 million total. Dalvin Cook kind of disappeared. I mean, the Vikings kind of fucked that up in the wild card game and in the regular season, right around Christmas time against the Giants. It's like, just run the ball. We stink against the run. So what does that non-exclusive tag mean? We kind of touched on it with Lamar Jackson, but unless another club makes an offer, the Giants are unwilling to match. He'll be a New York Giant. Now, if another interested suitor does make such an offer, New York would receive 2 first-round picks from said team. 2 first-round picks, which is pretty cool, but I don't see anyone giving that up. Paying unless Barkley has some kind of personal vendetta against the Giants for not giving him that contract that he wants and just wants to stick it to them, I don't see him leaving for anything less than what he was asking, which was around $16 million a year. So only 26. He rushed for a career-high 1,300 yards, scored 12 touchdowns on the ground, added another 338 through the air, which I thought we could have done more with him in the passing game. Hopefully we will in 2023. We can also work out a long-term. This now gives us a little more leash, a little more runway, a little more breathing room. We have until July 17th before Barkley signs the tag to work out a long-term contract. So who knows what changes in that time frame? Say we make a splash and we're not gonna make a big splash in free agency, but say we make some really nice moves that offensive line, bolstering that, improving that in free agency and the draft, and we turn to Barkley and we say, hey, yeah, we could offer you $16 million a year, and you could have a year like 2020 or 2021, or you can sign for $12.5 million a year for 4 years, and we'll get you a ring, motherfucker. So looking at the transaction history for Barkley, April 2021, we exercised the $7.2 million option for 2022. His rookie contract was 4 years, $31 million, fully guaranteed with almost a $21 million signing bonus. So, I mean, he's made some good money so far, and I know it's not, there's some crazy obsession with players to be like, oh, I'm the highest paid. I just don't know. At your Hall of Fame induction, is that on the bust, or is that on the graphic that they put up, behind you? Oh, he was the highest paid running back in 2024. Who gives a fuck? I guess I'm not one to speak because I have extremely low self-esteem. I don't negotiate contracts. I just oh yeah, that's cool. You can pay me that. And these people are confident, and they know their worth, they know their value, and they feel slighted when they don't get it. And to that degree, I understand. But at the same time, it's just think. And I know you think you're getting hosed, and you think it's awful that the owners get all the money, and all. I get that. I understand that. But I mean, and the team probably pitches this to him ad nauseum, and the player, it's probably white noise to the players at this point. But it's think about continuing the rest of your career with this team and winning a Super Bowl. You will become a friggin' legend, and you can live off that legend status for the rest of your life. Don't you think that Tiki Barber wishes that he didn't retire after 2006 and just stuck around for 2007 and got that Super Bowl ring and then could retire? What would life be like for Tiki Barber if he did that? I have a feeling it would be better. Who knows how much better, but I feel like it would be better. So I know that's the pitch, and that pitch, I don't think that pitch works with players anymore, but fuck, man. I just, and that makes me old school. and that's why I am what I am right now. But if in terms of the cap hit for 2023 for Barkley, he's the 10th highest paid running back. He's the 6th highest paid player on the New York Giants roster. And he should be the 2nd highest paid. I get it. Derrick Henry, who's 29 years old, is on the trading block. He signed a 4-year, $50 million contract with the Titans at age 26 in 2020. And I'm bringing this up because Henry and Chubb both signed their most recent contracts at the same age that Saquon Barkley is, 26 years old. Henry's contract, when he signed it in 2020 at age 26, included $12 million signing bonus with $25.5 million guaranteed with an average annual salary of $12.5 million. He'll earn $10.5 million in 2023 and carry a cap hit of over $16 million with a dead cap value of $10 million. He's going to be a free agent next season. And when he hits the market, his value is 2 years, $30 million, almost $31 million with a $15 million annual average salary. I don't know that teams are going to pay that. He's going to be 30, but is he like Adrian Peterson in that he has legs beyond that age 30 year? I mean, age 30 years is like the year that, that was the year that Tiki started talking about, like, all right, I'm just going to wind it down. I think Tiki was like 21 when he was drafted in 97 and he retired in 2006. So he played, 10 plus seasons. Yeah. So 30, 31 is usually when they start to think about winding it down. Very few running backs can be productive after that age. Although, with modern science, modern technology, Rigabobby. So Nick Chubb, here's another one. Signed a 3-year deal worth $36.6 million. The Browns at age 26, $12 million signing bonus, $20 million guaranteed, average annual salary of $12.2 million. And in 2023, he'll earn a base salary of $10.85 million, carrying a cap hit of $14.85 million and dead cap of $10.86. He's going to be free agent in 2025. So you say to yourself, if you're Saquon, and now we're going to look at it from Saquon's perspective, well, what the fuck? These contracts were signed, years ago, and I'm at that same age, but you're going to give me the same amount, but we're now 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road. I should be getting more than that. Oof, it's tough. I don't know. I have a weird, I'm not a very optimistic person, but if we can get the Jones thing figured out, which we did, and we can say to Barkley, hey, look at how great you guys are together. We really think we got something here. Look at what we did in year 1. Imagine what we can do in year 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that we get it done, despite everyone being like, they're so far apart. I mean, how many reports did you see like that on your timeline, which is like, we're so far apart on contracts? Okay, yeah. All right. So what does that mean for our cap? So this is not real time up to date, but it was, I think SpotTrack had us at $33 million over the cap after the Barkley tag. So that does not take into account Daniel Jones, AAV. But if the reports are true and only $19 million goes against the cap this year, 33 minus 19, it takes us to $14 million over the cap. The NFL draft signees, that's an estimated value of about $10 million against the cap. So now we're looking at $4 million. But then there's been like confirmed reports from Shefty that the Giants are going to release Kenny Golladay on March 17th. St. Paddy's Day, no less. Oh, luck of the Irish. So that will add another $7 million to cap space. I mean, I don't know. I guess it sucks. It is crazy that June 1st we would have saved another $7 million. I think it would have been if it was after June 1st. But I think they just want to cut ties cleanly, and then we'll just figure it out from there. I mean, it's a testament. It just shows you how badly they want him off the team. They're willing to take that much of a hit. So yeah, we're looking at maybe $11 million in available cap space after the NFL draft, after releasing Kenny Golladay, after the Jones contract is factored in. Is that enough to get us a free agent I personally would not want to spend all that on one free agent. I'd like to see us spread the wealth and do 2 free agents. I think if we can get 2 free agents at that to take up that price, that would be ideal. I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket, but that's who I am. And look at where I am in life. Oh, so sad. What can we do to free up more space? Well, we talked about this before. We could restructure Leonard Williams again. He had already converted almost $18 million of his 2022 base salary into a signing bonus in September of 2022 and added a void year. Adoree Jackson, I guess, could we restructure him again? He had already converted almost $10 million of his 2022 salary into a signing bonus, adding a void year. Will we want to go down that road again? Or would you want to possibly cut Adoree Jackson? I know some people have been floating that around the internet, and it's like, yeah, he has a cap hit of $19 million. We could save $9 million, and we have a dead cap of $10 million. But I don't know do you have a lot of faith in our secondary? I mean, some guys made some strides, I guess. We saw some good flashes of talent from like Cordell Flott and whatnot, but I don't know that we don't have the kind of depth just yet to indicate that we can cut ties with Adoree Jackson. So I think we try to restructure him again, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that. And Graham Gano, do we restructure him again, or do we cut him and save less than $3 million? He had already converted almost $3 million of his 2022 salary into a signing bonus and adding a void year. So, those are some possibilities. I think the most likely candidate, I guess, is Leonard Williams because he is still eating up a ton of friggin' cap. We could also extend Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. I know people have been pushing for that hardcore. And by when we extend them, you could then backload the contract so it frees up some room for this year and next year and possibly. So I think we're in a good spot. I think we're like in terms of the 2023 season, I think it's nice having that kind of security and stability, knowing that, okay, we got our 2 guys back. We know we can win when they both stay healthy. How do we get them to stay healthy? Well, we get them an offensive line. We bolster the offensive line. We add some weapons, some targets, so we don't have to depend so much on Saquon Barkley and lean on him so much. And I would be, barring injury, right? Because that always is a factor. If people are staying healthy and playing 13, 14 games or more, starting 13, 14 games or more, I'm talking specifically about Jones or Barkley, we're going to the playoffs. That's just a fact. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot.